We've all been there, right? You pick up your phone, maybe you just wanted to check the weather or read one single news story, and suddenly you're spiraling. Today, in this explainer, we are unpacking a modern phenomenon that pretty much every single one of us has fallen victim to at some point. We're going to look closely at how our completely normal desire to stay informed has morphed into this intense obsession with bad news. And more importantly, we're going to see how this obsession is literally, physically altering our nervous systems. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to kick things off with the age of doom scrolling, dive into why we are wired for bad news, look at exactly what happens to your brain on doom scrolling, explore something fascinating called the popcorn brain phenomenon, and finally, don't worry, we won't leave you hanging, we'll cover exactly how to stop. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Age of Doom Scrolling. Okay, I want you to picture a highly relatable scenario. You wake up, you roll over, and you reach for your phone just to take a quick glance at the headlines. But suddenly, that quick glance turns into 30 minutes of scrolling through global disasters, economic crises, and just deeply alarming headlines. You feel anxious, you feel overwhelmed, and yet, strangely, you just can't bring yourself to stop. It brings us to a really critical question, and I want you to ask yourself honestly. Is your morning scrolling habit actually keeping you helpfully informed, or is it just draining your mental energy before your feet even hit the floor?
So, what exactly are we dealing with here? Doom scrolling is defined as the compulsive consumption of negative news and distressing content online. Simple enough, right? Well, actually, here's what recent neuroscience tells us. This isn't just a bad habit. It's a behavior that creates a persistent state of psychological hypervigilance. What that means is your brain is constantly on high alert for danger. It's reacting to the screen in some really profound physiological ways.
Section 2. Wired for bad news. You know, if you struggle with this, I want to validate that struggle right now. You are not weak. You don't just lack willpower. You are actually fighting millions of years of evolutionary survival instincts. It's a concept called negativity bias. See, human beings evolved in harsh environments where missing a sign of danger, like a predator in the bushes, could literally be fatal. Therefore, our brains are fundamentally hardwired to prioritize negative, threatening information over positive information, just to keep us alive. But here is where it gets incredibly tricky for us in the digital era. Modern digital platforms and social media algorithms, they actually weaponize this negativity bias. Content that provokes fear, outrage, or anxiety generates way more engagement than happy news. So the algorithms push these negative stories faster and more frequently. They're essentially exploiting your ancient survival instincts just to keep your eyes glued to the screen.
Section 3. Your brain on doom scrolling.
Let's do a deep dive into the specific physiological reactions happening inside your head while you scroll. There is a potent chemical cocktail brewing in your nervous system. First up, the amygdala. This is your brain's alarm system. It sees a threatening headline and prepares your body for physical danger, shifting you into a low-grade fight-or-flight state. That triggers the release of cortisol, the stress hormone, which leads to serious physical tolls like anxiety, sleep disruption, fatigue, and even elevated blood pressure. But here is the absolute kicker. Dopamine. Doom scrolling heavily hits your reward pathways. Every new update provides a burst of novelty, creating what we call a variable reward system. It's exactly like pulling the lever on a slot machine. You keep scrolling because your brain thinks, maybe the next swipe will have the crucial information I need to survive. And all of this creates an inescapable, vicious cycle. Your brain becomes hypervigilant, constantly scanning for danger. You feel fear, so you scroll to find answers. You get a tiny temporary relief from feeling quote-unquote informed. But then, you inevitably encounter more fear-inducing headlines, which just leads to, you guessed it, more scrolling. Your amygdala and reward circuits powerfully reinforce this loop, making it incredibly difficult to just put the phone down and walk away.
Section 4. The popcorn brain phenomenon.
Mental health experts have actually coined a fascinating term for the real-world consequences of this constant digital overstimulation. They call it popcorn brain. When your brain becomes so accustomed to these rapid, emotionally charged streams of digital information, your baseline for stimulation completely changes. Your attention span shrinks. Suddenly, reading a long article, focusing at work, or just experiencing normal, everyday life starts to feel agonizingly slow and uninteresting. Your brain is essentially popping, like popcorn, with the constant need for that next quick hit of digital emotion.
And the psychological impact of all of this is highly measurable. To put some data behind this, a study involving approximately 800 participants found heavy links between doom scrolling and feelings of despair, insecurity, and existential anxiety. In fact, researchers describe this repeated exposure to negative news as a potential source of vicarious trauma. I mean, that is a massive, massive toll on our collective mental health.
Section 5. How to stop scrolling.
Okay, we've looked at the heavy science, so let's pivot to the cure. Now, I want to be clear, the goal here is not to hide from reality. Complete avoidance and ignorance, that isn't the answer. Being informed is absolutely essential in today's world. The healthy shift we need to make is moving from compulsive, fear-based checking to mindful consumption and intentional awareness. To achieve that, we've got some highly actionable, evidence-based strategies. First, you need to set specific boundaries for when you check the news, and definitely turn off those non-essential notifications that practically beg you to look at your screen. But I want to specifically highlight 2 absolute game changers from this list. First, practice the 2-source rule. Instead of reading dozens of updates and getting sucked into that slot machine we talked about, get your information from 2 trusted, reliable sources, and then absolutely stop. Second, and this is crucial, avoid news at least 1 hour before bed. Consuming distress before sleep increases nighttime anxiety, destroys your sleep quality, and leaves you emotionally vulnerable the next day, which, ironically, only fuels more doom scrolling. Finally, replace that scrolling time with recovery activities. Take a walk, read a book, meditate, do things that actually help regulate that overactive nervous system.
I want to leave you with this powerful thought. Stay informed, but don't let the news live rent-free inside your nervous system. Your brain evolved beautifully to help you survive immediate physical danger. It was not built to process thousands of alarming global headlines every single day. So the next time you reach for your phone first thing in the morning, I want you to pause and ask yourself a simple question. Who is in charge of your nervous system today? You or the algorithm?